It's the end of the Formula One season, so I'm going to do something that no one else has done and rank every single sprint this year. Coming in last place is the Miami Sprint, which I have to say, before we go into any of these, I don't think any of these are actually bad, but there's just some that are just a bit bland, and this was one of them. At the start, Lewis Hamilton caused a kind of a four-way crash, really, by hitting into Alonso, who hit into Stroll, who hit into Lando Norris. We had a fight for third between Daniel Ricciardo and Sergio Perez. One of the few weekends Ricciardo was actually good, but Verstappen dominated. However, the fun of this race became between Magnussen, Bully and Lewis Hamilton. It's not very often you hear someone like Magnussen Bully, a seven-time world champion, but he did that and it was a fun wheel-to-wheel action. And Hamilton later got a penalty as well, which kind of summed up his 2024 campaign as he made a little bit of a mistake, which is the same mistake, fun fact, he made in Qatar. Yeah, Magnussen versus Hamilton was fun, and Tsunoda managed to get a point for RB in the process. The fight between Sainz and Ricciardo was good, but not really much happened at the front, so I have to say it's easily, I would say, the worst of the sprints. Then we had Austria, which at the beginning was brilliant, as we saw a brilliant battle for the lead between Max Verstappen and Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. I do like sprints because sometimes they kind of foreshadow what's going to happen the day after, and in this case, well, if you know, you know. Lando Norris didn't even get that good of a launch, which also kind of sums up the whole season for him, as Piastri put him under pressure, but Norris managed to stay in second position. McLaren already put the pressure on Max Verstappen though straight away, as on lap 3 of the race with DRS enabled, Lando Norris had his first opportunity. We had Carlos Sainz versus George Russell, which was also quite a fun battle for 4th position, which Russell won. And then Lando Norris on lap 5 centred on Max Verstappen and took the lead of the sprint, and we dared to believe that we actually had a fight for the win. But that all went wrong when Max Verstappen also dive-bombed Verstappen at the next corner. Now this was fine, except unfortunately when Oscar Piastri managed to get past Lando Norris, it certainly wasn't, because it meant Piastri was unable to stay with Verstappen and the DRS became less effective. Verstappen dominated at the end, and unfortunately the rest of the race kind of died down. The first 5 laps were brilliant, but the rest of the race fell flat. We've got kind of a significant leap forward, and we've got the Brazilian sprint, which I have to say was kind of fun because of how dramatic the end of the race was. It was kind of fun enough. Piastri got the lead from Lando Norris, and it kind of stayed like that, but we had battles already going on between Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. I like Charles Leclerc in Brazil. His performance was pretty good, as he's the only one who was actually going to defend for Max Verstappen in the main race. The fight between Verstappen and Leclerc lasted several laps. Lewis Hamilton also had a bad start but managed to recover past the rookies to 11th as Behrman's tyres faded. Verstappen finally got past Leclerc and got up to 3rd position as Perez made some brilliant overtakes. Yes, I said the word brilliant in a sentence involving Sergio Perez, something no one else will probably ever say about anything in this 2024 campaign. Hülkenberg was out though, and it meant Piastri had to give the lead to Lando, so there's quite a lot of action, and it went all the way to the last lap as Verstappen got a penalty for overtaking or something to do with a VSC infringement. Anyway, for the first time ever, Norris won. It was fun, and that's it. Then we have the Qatar sprint, which was kind of the same as Brazil in terms of some interesting battles, and then at the end there's a McLaren team swap. This time Lando Norris led from pole, but George Russell was under threat from Oscar Piastri for 2nd position, and Piastri got ahead. What followed was several lap after lap battles between the McLaren and the Mercedes, as Russell was clearly quicker after just missing out on pole, but couldn't get past. Max Verstappen, for the first time and only time all year, actually made a bad start and lost positions. Sergio Perez also lost positions. The only difference was this was in the bloody pit lane, as Franco Colapinto got past him, as Perez didn't go when the red light in the pits went green. Easily Perez's most stupid 2024 mistake right there. Hamilton and Leclerc went wheel to wheel. A little preview for 2025 right there. A fight Charles Leclerc won. A fight Lewis Hamilton said he didn't defend as much and as he could have, which kind of sums up maybe why Hamilton just isn't as good as some of the other drivers of the elite sports, because he gives up when fighting for 5th position. But I'm saying that as a Hamilton fan. Anyway, at the end of the day, Piastri gave the place to Lando Norris, and Piastri won the race. So I have to say I put it ahead of Brazil because there was a bit more action as opposed to it, and better wheel-to-wheel action. Then we have the United States sprint. Last year we had an absolute ball fest. For a mini-second last year, it looked as if Hamilton could actually close in on Verstappen, but that quickly went. At the start, George Russell, funny enough, didn't actually take the lead of the sprint, considering pretty much every race the poll said it doesn't lead lap 1, and that theme would continue in the race itself. Lando Norris actually made a competing start for once and got past George Russell, who then had to fight the Ferraris, as Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz put the pressure on the Mercedes driver. Lewis Hamilton was nowhere as he had a lackluster performance and could only finish in 6th. Meanwhile, George Russell closed in on Lando Norris as the Ferraris went wheel-to-wheel once again with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. It does remind me that this is kind of a forgotten good sprint race that not many people talk about. Lando Norris and George Russell went wheel-to-wheel for 2nd position, a fight that Russell wouldn't be able to win as he fell behind the McLaren driver. Meanwhile, we had a war between Fernando Alonso and Liam Lawson, which would continue into the main race. Like I said, sometimes sprint races foreshadowed the main race. Meanwhile, Russell faded away as both Ferraris got past, with Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc getting past the Mercedes, who'd finish in 5th. A World Championship potentially cost a mistake for Lando Norris, which obviously wasn't in the end. On the last lap, so Carlos Sainz get past Lando Norris, and Charles Leclerc nearly spun off when fighting the McLaren driver, as Haas scored double points, and Magnussen actually looked fast for once at the end of the 2024 campaign. So overall, I have to say, it was a fun sprint, but the fight for the win lasted like not even a corner, so that's why it isn't in first. So in first place is the China sprint. Now this is particularly biased because I like when we have Hamilton, Alonso and Verstappen at the front of the field. But in the end, Lando Norris bottled his first start of the year as Lewis Hamilton easily took the lead. The start wasn't awful from Norris though, who managed to hand it round the outside, but that all went wrong as he slipped to 6th position. Well, actually 7th, but he managed to finish in 6th. And Hamilton and Alonso had a fight at the front of the field, which in my opinion is always fun. But it didn't last very long. Verstappen got past Alonso on lap 7, but by that time we thought Hamilton could actually win as a 2-second gap. Surely it would be a little bit harder to... Oh no, never mind. Verstappen got past Hamilton within 2 laps as a lockup from the 7-time world champion meant that overall... That meant all of that gap went straight away, and instead you had Verstappen on his tail. Verstappen absolutely dominated at the end of the day, but we had an amazing fight for 3rd position as Sainz and Alonso went for it. Alonso ended up getting a puncture, and Perez got past both of them and got up to 3rd position, and that was a very good overtake. Perez has actually made some pretty good overtakes this year, now that I think about it. The Ferraris went wheel-to-wheel again, as we always expect, but it's still not as good as Monza 2023, and this time Charles Leclerc won against Carlos Sainz, the only time at that point up to the start of the season that Charles Leclerc had actually beaten his teammate in a competitive session of a race. Verstappen ended up dominating at the end of the day, and Lewis Hamilton actually got a good result for once with Sergio Perez in 3rd position. So that is it, and I have to say, if you do enjoy this video, consider clicking this subscribe button and the like button. I would greatly appreciate it, especially with the YouTube algorithm being the way it is. If you did enjoy this video, I did rank every single F1 race this year, so if you do like that, you could go and check that out. And of course, I'll be doing loads of classic race highlights in 2025, so Merry Christmas, and thanks for watching.